March 22nd, 6 p.m., Breaking Even is live. And the theme for this show is going to be Expect the Unexpected, digging into and unpacking the World Golf Championship match played down in Austin, Texas. Texas two-step we've got. We're out of Florida on the PGA Magnolia Lane. The Sweet 16 in the NCAA men's basketball bracket is set. Jonathan Coachman is going to walk us through everything we need to know there in terms of who's going to win, where the upsets come from, and maybe even a couple of point spreads. And Guy Adami is going to join us, and all I can ask him is, what the hell is going on with the markets? Because they are upside down, and I am as well. It's Breaking Even. You know, I always feel like in a hotel room, I'm on the road right now calling some live golf, and I always feel like I'm yelling in the hotel room, and the people next door must be thinking, what in the world is this joker next to me doing? Jonathan Coachman, Guy Adami, how are we, fellas?
I'm doing well. Can we, before we even start, Ned, and I apologize, and by the way, folks, please text us your questions. I'm sure you have a lot, but last Breaking Even, you asked me who I liked in the tournament, and I said, look, I don't know. I just think Baylor's the real deal. And the coach stepped in and said, you are wrong, R-O-N-G, unequivocally. And he undressed me verbally. And you know what, Coach? Unbelievable. Incroyable, as the French say. Good for you.
I don't like to be right. It's just,
I
love it.
You do.
It's
yeah,
just
you do.
what I do. But I tell you what, I've been challenged on Breaking Even because I have so many incredible financial minds and numbers are flying all over the place. Let me throw a number out at you boys.
Throw it, brother.
At CBS, my show, The Early Edge, the most brackets filled out of any fan base at the CBS universe. Over 2,000 people in our bracket. Guess where your boy is sitting right now?
18.
8th. Don't
Eight.
insult. Do not insult me. 8th. 8th. Out of over 2,000. Don't test me, ladies and gentlemen. Do not test me. And all 4 of my Final Four teams are still alive.
Remind us who you have winning it.
I have Arizona winning it against Gonzaga, UCLA, and Kansas going to the Final Four with them.
Guy, who did you have winning?
Well, I'll be honest with you. As I said last week, I thought Baylor was going to run the table. I thought they lined up really well. I thought they figured it out. They won last year. I thought Auburn could do damage in the tournament. I love way they were playing at the end of the year, and they got smoked. So,
hey,
it's
Guy,
pretty remarkable.
If I give you a brand new $50 million deal, like my boy got at Auburn, I love Bruce Pearl. I worked with Bruce Pearl. He told me the story of getting rehired there. One of these days, I'm going to tell it right here on Breaking Even. It's an incredible story. But when you get $50 million, you get soft.
Yeah.
And you don't really dig that hard. He got $50 million 3 weeks ago. Wait till the season's over and then give him the cash. I knew they were going to get bounced once you get that cash.
Coach, you know what? I got to start. Listen, I do listen to you without question. I listen to Ned, but spot on. And we should talk about, I mean, I'm sure we will get into, the next 8 games coming up because there's some interesting matchups, but I just had to pay homage. Again, I don't know how to spell it, but I had to pay it to you, Coach.
Well, we're a numbers show anyway.
Don't know how to spell it, but he sure knows how it feels to give it away. Coach with the call.
Let's go.
We will get into the NCAA because they're in the Sweet 16 and trying to get to is it the Great 8, the Elite 8? There's always
Elite 8.
Debate. I like the Elite 8.
Yeah, nobody says Great 8.
So we're going to get into that because I had a couple of picks that are in there, and then my bracket got blown up like everybody else's when Kentucky was dismantled by the Peacocks. Who knew the Peacocks in the Sweet 16? First, though, I want to get into the World Golf Championship match play down in Austin, Texas. This is a golf course that requires accuracy. It's not all that long, although par 5s are long, Coach. But if you look at the past winners, it's more about accuracy. There are 3 holes that are under 400 yards, but there are a couple of statistics that just blow my mind. And the one that I want to start with, and I want you to address before we get into picks, is the last 3 years, a player who went on to win outside the top 32 in the world. So that's the equivalent of a basketball team in the NCAA tournament being ranked 8th seed or higher and winning 3 years in a row. It just simply doesn't happen. So is this an anomaly, or is this match play?
Well, it's match play because it's hard to compare the two, because in basketball, you don't have 65 really great teams that could beat each other when it gets right down to it. You just don't, because a lot of elite players go to the top 15 or 20 programs. You're talking 100 players right there, right? Or 150. In golf, it's different. So it's hard to go apples and oranges. But I will say this, that when you fill out a bracket for the World Golf Match Play, you do have to factor in, because there's always a double-digit seed in the Final Four. There's always a player that you don't think about. Last year, it was Victor Perez. Can anybody tell me the country that Victor Perez from? France. But you work for the PGA Tour. I'm telling you, most people just do not know. I'm telling you, there's always going to be one player. Not on my bracket this year, but there's always one player that's going to break through. This year, I'm very chalky, but I certainly don't have a top seed winning it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Victor Perez, by the way, last year at the Players' Championship had to come back on Saturday and finish one hole. He had to make a birdie. He had to play the 18th hole at the Players' Championship, TPC Sawgrass, one of the most intimidating holes on the planet. He made birdie to make the cut on the number, and then he parlayed that into a top 10 finish. He's a gamer. I love Victor Perez. He was a guy that you should have been keeping an eye out for last year. So who's that guy this year? Let's just dig right in. Who is the guy that we're looking at saying, maybe out of nowhere?
All right, so this is a really crazy year, and I want really people that are watching at home, that are really listening at home, to understand where we're at in the world of PGA Tour. It's a big game hunting season, meaning every single week there is a player either winning for the first time but red hot, or a multiple-time winner. What do we see last week? Sam Burns. What have we seen weeks before? Scotty Scheffler gets his second and then his third win. Taylor Gooch, Tom Hoagie, a lot of these names that are not household names, but they aren't going to show up this week, because this is where the boys show up, the boys show out, and all you got to do is go mano a mano, look me in the eye, and are you better than me on that day? And with that being said, my Final Four look like this. Jon Rahm, Billy Horschel, the defending champion, Paul Casey, Justin Thomas. That's my Final Four. Horschel, Casey in the finals. Casey is my champion. Now, he won the Valspar Championship in 2018 and 19. He did not play last week. Why? To rest up for this week. To take this one bull by the horns. Give me Paul Casey. Cash it at the pay window.
May I ask you a question? I'm going to ask this to Ned and Coach. It gives you a minute to think about it.
Okay.
What's going? I mean, the fall of Phil Mickelson. It is precipitous. Again, a word I can't spell, to say the least. Ned, you want to address that? Or you want to just pass that buck over to the coach?
No, I'll address it. And by the way, you can get involved on our comments section. We've got some questions already in there. Anything you want to ask between golf, basketball, and we're going to get digging into the markets here in a minute. Phil Mickelson is taking some time off. All right. And so I'm going to take him at his word that he's taking some time off. There's a lot of speculation, what's really happening behind the scenes, but he has announced that he's asked to be removed from the playing list at Augusta National in the Masters. So he is now a past champion, not playing. And in order for that to happen at the Masters, the player or one of his representatives has to ask to be moved off of the playing list. Tiger, by the way, has not been moved on past champion not playing. He still remains, Guy, on the list. And I'm not sure I can emotionally handle it if Tiger Woods is in the field at the Masters. I mean, come on. I totally went a different direction on you there, Guy. But Phil Mickelson, I don't know if this is a rebranding campaign or he really is just taking some time off. But, Coach, we're not going to see him for a while, I don't think.
I'll handle this. It's okay. Here's what's going on, because we can speculate all we want, but think about this, Guy and Ned for a second. What do we know? This is a financial show. This is a sports betting show. You put it all together. That's the world Phil Mickelson has lived in his entire career. And think about this. If indeed he took $100 million from the new golf league in Saudi and already put it into the bank, okay? That means there's no coming back from this, because I don't know about you guys, but if I put $100 million into the bank, I damn sure don't want to take it out and give it back to somebody. All right? He routinely was on the Forbes list of highest paid athletes every single year, between $30 and $60 million. I'm not a math major again, but if he did that, he was Arnold Palmer. Am I wrong, Ned, that he could have made conservatively $15 to $20 million a year in sponsorship dollars for the rest of his life. Is that would you agree with that?
I'd say it's pretty close. Yeah. Close. Think about he can go and start doing commentary. Yeah, I think that's pretty close.
There's no question. Yeah, CBS, NBC, they'd pay him $10+ million a year. We know that to come in. So you're looking at a salary of $20 to $25 million without picking up a club. That's what he had lost. This is what he has lost, Guy. He has lost that guaranteed income. You can't, if you're a sponsor, even touch him right now because of all the other relationships that you have, which is very similar to companies in the financial sector. He is toxic at this point. But, guys, he's done it to himself. I normally don't like to see anybody fall off the cliff. I don't want to see anybody's careers ruined. I don't want to see anybody's lives ruined. But he had it already, and he decided to give it away. And that's why people have no sympathy right now for Phil Mickelson.
It is going to be interesting to see how it unfolds because I'm sure you saw, Coach, that the LIV, the Norman-led tour, has released their schedule.
They have
tournament dates and they have locations. I don't want to get into that because we don't have time, but that was a loaded question, Guy Adami, and a good
well, that's
one.
what we do here. That's what we do here on Breaking
Even. You didn't already know.
Right? I'm gonna get you back. Don't you worry. I'll get you back here in a second.
I like when you do that.
The match play, I'm with you. We didn't discuss our picks ahead of time because what fun would that be? There are a couple of things, elements. I always like to talk about the elements that it takes for a player to win a specific event. So you got to look at recent form. Okay, you have a win or a top 10 in your last 4 events on either the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour. You have to have made it to a quarterfinal appearance in this event somewhere in your history. Be an accurate hitter of the ball. So look, if you're a stats person, look for proximity of players in the field. And then this is the craziest one. If you win the first hole, you are 68% chance to either tie or win your match. All right, so that doesn't really have anything to do with the element of a player, but I'm looking recent form is huge, especially in this event, an accurate hitter of the ball. And if you can bet after the first hole, which is probably going to get crappy odds, Coach, you can tell me how that works. That's what I'm going with. So here are my players. Sleepers, Bubba Watson has a nice track record around here. I think the creativity this course requires is right in his wheelhouse. Jon Rahm's going to win this thing. Why even question? He is by far the best hitter of the golf ball on the planet. Match play allows him on the greens to free up. He's going to start making some putts. And I think any European, when you start getting into match play, they harness the Ryder Cup, and it's always a little more important to them. And then Dustin Johnson, his group coach is, well, they're all great players, top 64 in the world. So nobody is soft. But this group, to me, of Wolf, Mackenzie Hughes, they're really struggling with their games. And Max Homa. So he's really, in my opinion, just has to beat Max Homa, and then he's easily into that top 16. So that's where I end up.
Wasn't there one stat in there, Ned, about having to win recently in order to be right?
Or a top 10. Yeah, in the last 4 or 5 events.
Or a world's top 10. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about recent form, do you know the last win that Jon Rahm had?
It probably wasn't the U.S. Open, was it?
Correct.
Mm.
Do you know the last
10? He's got some top 10s.
Do you know the last win Dustin Johnson had?
Probably the Masters in November.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking almost 18 months.
But he did finish top 10 at the Players' Championship a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, now
again, big time backdoor.
Context. God, you see what Ned likes to do there? He just said, "Oh, but DJ top 10." Do you want to know how DJ top 10 at the Players?
Would you like called it? You tell me.
He was +2 going into Monday. He didn't even tee off on the right side of the draw. He teed off on 10 first on the final day and shot a 9 under 63 to backdoor top 10.
Backdoor. Hey, Guy, does if you make money, you have a profit and then you actually put it in the bank, I mean, that's called making money, right?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. It doesn't matter how you get there. Sometimes, because that plus in your column, again, you don't get style points in this. And it's interesting listening to you guys talk. And, Coach, there are a lot of things that you're capable of doing. But I guarantee, given your size, again, it's a great physique. Being a jockey was not one of those things. But when I listen to the two of you talk, it's uncanny the parallels that when you talk about golfers there are to horse racing. You talk about past performance, the courses, how they're playing recently, how many weeks they took off. I mean, I'm just curious myself. Now I find myself to be a viewer of breaking even. But are there a lot of similarities between picking horses and picking golfers?
I would say yes, if I just think about it, because we use horse references all the time, don't we? Now we say he's a thoroughbred. His lineage is very, very good. So we say things like that all the time. And certainly when you're going into a horse race, you're like, well, he's won his last 3 races. He looked great. He set a speed record. There's no question there are parallels between golfers. And also, you want to get a golfer before they fall off the cliff, because we've seen a lot of guys. When they get to about, 45, Ned? 46, that's when the cliff comes, and you never know when it's going to go directly off that. So you got to get ahead of the game.
Horses for courses is what they say, Guy. So, yeah, I think you're onto something. Hey, by the way, I liked your Paul Casey pick. I think, as you said, took a week off, 3rd at the Players, has a great record in match play. Again, European. So I like that pick. All right, we got to move on because we've got to try to keep things going. By the way, I'm going down to Mississippi next week. I'm playing in the PGA Tour Champions Pro-Am, the Rapiscan. I'm playing with our friends down at Visit Mississippi. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to go to the Beau Rivage a couple years ago. Remember I showed you the ticket? Tiger Woods to win the Masters. A little seafood, some great culture, awesome music.
Guy?
You didn't get the invitation.
You didn't get the invitation?
Next year.
I mean, we should be playing. The coach and I mean, I'll be your freaking caddy, Ned. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand the problem here.
Exactly.
But,
I can't wait for the seafood dinner they have before the event is outrageous.
I'm going to brag. Next time I have something big, I'm going to brag about right here on the show. I went to the White House. What? All right, let's go.
By the way, you said it before we came on, but we're going to get sponsored by a cigar company and some type of bourbon or Scotch distiller. Look, I feel like
I'm in a bad 80s movie where the headmaster is calling his kids into the office and telling them what the hell they've done wrong now.
You're thinking about School Ties, no doubt, with Matt Damon.
Yes.
I know where you're thinking.
Yeah.
And by the way, Rip, for you fans out there of Yellowstone, Rip was in School Ties. It's unbelievable. Go back and watch it. I'm telling you,
you won't pick him out.
Now.
You will not pick him out.
You will not pick him out.
I know who it is, but you won't pick him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do. I feel like I'm in the Capital City Club locker room with those chairs behind you. All right, NCAA March Madness round of 16. Let's turn our attention there, and I'll step aside and let you all have the floor because, Coach, I know you've got a lot to say, and Guy, I know you're a huge basketball fan, and you're really excited about Georgetown.
Thank you again. That 2 weeks in a row. I mean, you're not only a tool, you're the entire. I mean, you're not only the tool shed, you're Home Depot with that. But all right, here we go, Coach. I want to sort of go through these games. Let's go quick.
All right.
Gonzaga, Arkansas starts things off. I think Gonzaga got by their tough game. A lot of times the winner of these tournaments has one real hard game where you get through it, then they coast. I think that's Gonzaga. What say you? Gonzaga, Arkansas.
The spread is 9. This is a team that will not shy away from playing fast with Gonzaga. That's going to be a mistake. Gonzaga wins big. They score over 100. Arkansas will get to 80 or 85, but Gonzaga will go over 100.
Texas Tech, Duke, a number 2. I don't think they should have been a 2, by the way. I think they should have been a 4. Texas Tech, good team. What do you say here?
Nobody will ever say that Duke got seeded so they could make it the farthest in Coach K's last season, but that's exactly what happened. Getting this 2 seed, a little bit easier. This is a tough Texas Tech team. People haven't seen them all year. They've been a top 10 team all year. They're tough. They can shoot. They can defend. I think Duke's run ends here. Texas Tech moves on.
North Carolina, UCLA. I saw North Carolina play mid-season. I'm like, they might not even make the tournament this year. Here they are, 8 seed. I think they're an 8 seed playing UCLA at 4, but they're playing the best basketball of the season right now.
Yeah, but if you take the 10 minutes, their last 10 minutes away from that Baylor game, you could say yes. But they were up 25, and they gave up that lead and nearly lost that damn game. I think that's going to be in the back of their mind. You also factor in UCLA. They're my Final Four team. They're also a team that made a long, deep run last year. You got a lot of the same guys. They've got a little bit of an injury issue, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think UCLA beats North Carolina.
Purdue St. Peter's, does the clock strike 12?
And normally, historically, when you have these double-digit seeds that make it into the Sweet 16, that's as far as they go because now you're going to have an elite coach, an elite program that will have 5 days to get ready for a team. This is the biggest spread of the entire 8 games, St. Peter's, but they lose. And I don't think they cover the spread. I think Purdue's going to win by 15 to 20. I think this is going to be a big rout.
Go to the other side. Arizona, Houston. Houston's playing well. Arizona is a very good basketball team.
Arizona's my national champion. This spread is way too low. People are going to get a real break here because of Arizona going to overtime with TCU and because of Gonzaga getting taken also to the end. You got a real break on these numbers. This spread should be in the 4 to 5 range. Instead, it's less than 1 bucket. We'll take Arizona.
Michigan gone 2 ways. Michigan could have gone 2 ways when their coach obviously got that suspension. They could have folded tent, so they were going to galvanize behind him. They chose to galvanize, playing Villanova. I happen to love Michigan in this game.
Yeah, Michigan's got a lot of players that have played. Every single year, the last several years, they've either gone deep or they've gone to the Final Four. This is a veteran team. Juwan Howard knows how to coach in the Final Four. I'd said this on our mega preview show, that as an 11th seed, Michigan was going to be a problem, and I was right because they have veteran leadership. They know how to play in these big games, but so does Villanova. I think this is going to be very, very tight. From an against the spread pick, I would take Michigan. You're going to get 5 points, and then I still think they could win the game.
Yeah, I think Michigan's wins outright. Kansas, Providence, Rockhawk, Jayhawk against the Friars. I think it ends for Providence. What say you?
Yeah, Kansas. This is one of my Final Four teams. I think they win. This is the most underrated number 1 seed of the 4 number 1 seeds. I think they'll very workmanlike get past Providence.
A lot of people probably got their bracket busted with these two, but at 11 Iowa State against a Miami team seemingly out of nowhere at 10. I don't know about this game. Miami's playing well.
Seemingly would be for people who didn't watch the ACC this year. They had some really good games this year. They beat some really, really good teams. But Iowa State, the reason they're 11th seed, because they started off, 12-0, 13-0, and then they fell off the cliff. That's the only reason. They're a really good team. They've got a big-time chip on their shoulder, and I think the Big 12 will continue to show that they are the class of this March Madness. You got Iowa State. You still got KU alive. You still have Texas Tech. I think all 3 of those teams win on Thursday and Friday.
By the way, Ned, the state of Tennessee didn't fare particularly well. But that's probably for another show. Anyway, back to you, Ned.
Vanderbilt is doing well, I'll have you know, in the NIT tournament. They actually knocked off the number 1 seed Dayton. So at least they're winning games. At least they're still playing.
Ned, nobody's ever bragged about winning in the NIT.
Right. That's one of the most Vanderbilt things to do.
It really is.
Here, taking a look at your Sweet 16 best bets, Arizona, UCLA. I like that one. Coach, I want to ask Guy, any of the picks, Guy, that Coach just made that you strongly disagree with?
No, well, listen, it would be foolish of me at this point in our tenure together to strongly disagree with anything Coach said. Coach could say I'm the dumbest person he's ever met in his entire life, and almost by definition now I'd have to agree with it. So no, Ned, I am not going to disagree with anything the Coach just said.
I'm going to say one more thing and then shut up because I know you and Guy got to do your thing. We like to educate and entertain, right? So that's why I put the parlay in there. The reason I did that, Ned, is for people at home to understand. When you see a spread like Kansas at 7.5, you think, yuck. 8 points, yuck. Gosh, it so easily could be 9, hit that late 3, right? So what do? You put together 2 or 3 teams in a parlay, money line, which means all they have to do is win the game and you win the bet. You put a couple together, you can bring the number down. Now you're almost getting 2 to 1. All 3 of these, all they have to do is win the game. It's a great way to bring the number down to something you can play with and not have to lay a bunch of points. That's our educational topic for the week here on Breaking Even.
I like that. So Arizona, Gonzaga, Kansas all win, and I parlay, and I like that. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing I strongly disagree with before we get into the markets, and I promise we're getting there because I have a lot of questions and even more concerns and frustrations, and I want to throw something and break something and kind of puke all at the same time. One thing that really does I strongly disagree with and makes me want to puke. Have you seen the new Vanderbilt logo? I got an email this morning in my inbox, and I'm trying to, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Is this supposed to be a big unveil? Or are we supposed to be
Yes, this is a whole. They sent it out to alumni. This is our rebranding of, and they had some terrible word for it. It wasn't rebranding. It was re-imaging or new image, whatever. It's this things about Vanderbilt things to do. I was finally where I was like, okay, I like this V star. This is solid, very identifiable. especially in the baseball unis. It looks awesome when they go black with the gold pinstripes. Guy, have you seen this? You should Google it if you have.
Yeah, I have seen it, and I love that. I don't know what there's. Listen, they obviously did some focus group, is my sense. They paid I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this, but I will. Shitload amount of money for people to tell them basically we like this one better. But I'm sort of a traditionalist. I like the old one. I'm not certain what's going on here, Coach.
I don't know either, Guy, but all I know is that I was surfing through social media and a tweet came to my attention.
That's bad.
Those staple removers, I mean, people buy those things. I mean, I'm not proud to say this, but I will say it. And I know, Coach, you probably do it as well. I use my teeth. I mean, I'm old school that way. So I save myself a couple bucks. Yeah.
Can you open a beer bottle with your teeth also?
Absolutely. Yes. I used to do it in college. And then when I first met my wife, I would do it. And she basically scolded me. And she said, if she ever sees me do that again, that's it. So I have refrained now for the last almost 30 years.
Smart woman. By the way, the Vanderbilt logo, if you take a closer look at the Villanova logo, a couple of the versions of this new V that I've seen are awfully similar except for different colors. But they said in this email that they had over 500 people had completed the survey. 500. Like, how many people are you? That's not very many. 500. And you're basing this change on 500 people?
The good news for Vanderbilt, by the way, as you all know, it's become one of legit top 12 universities in the country, and they continue to move up that ladder. So despite the fact that they're screwing the proverbial pooch on the logo front, they're doing a great job on the university front. So you got that going for you.
And, Guy, the other good news is somebody got paid 6 figures to spend the last year coming up with that.
Reminds me of the Atlanta Olympic mascot where they ended up calling it "What Is It?" because they couldn't name it. Okay, we are into the markets because, Guy, is it a bear market? Is it a bull market? I've never lived through, at least as an investor who's actively investing, a bear market with these bull rallies. But I don't know enough about anything here to make a statement. But what the hell is happening?
So, I mean, and again, I will tell you, having done this now since 1986, the market almost on a daily basis has a way of humbling and humiliating us all, me specifically, because I talk about it every night for the last 15 years. But what I will tell you is I think we had a change in direction in late November when our Federal Reserve changed course. And I think it went from being a market that basically went from the lower left to the upper right, if you can think about that, a market that just would trend higher, to a market going from the upper left to the lower right, market that's going to trend lower. But the last week and a half, the rallies that we've seen, and again today, have been pretty remarkable. Now, counter trend rallies, to your point, Ned, are very violent, and we've seen them before. But when they last for 4 or 5 days in a row, you have to start questioning yourself, saying, maybe I missed something here. I don't think I have. I mean, what I will tell you is interest rates continue to skyrocket higher. 10-year yields have gone from 165 to 240 over the course of the last 10 to 12 trading days. That's unprecedented. And I think at some point, higher rates will have get ready for this, Coach, deleterious effect. I'll say it again, Coach. I'll go slow for you this time. Deleterious effect on the broader market. But listen, the last week has been pretty remarkable as we continue to rally. And some of these stocks that were left for dead have gotten off the mat. For example, Alibaba over the last 4 trading days has rallied, get ready for this, 50%. 50%.
That is, to me, shocking, given some of the context of the conversations we've had. The possibility that the Chinese could be supporting the Russians, if not overtly, then covertly. And all they have to do is come out, the Chinese, and say little something about, well, we support our companies, and poof, look what GME and AMC, GameStop and AMC did today. They were up 20 and like 40%.
25, 30, 35%. No, I mean, the mechanism for the market seemed to be broken. And again, you're seeing, listen, Alibaba, by the way, not that it matters, but you're talking about a $300 billion company that has moved, again, as I said, 50% in 4 or 5 trading days. I mean, there's nothing normal about that. Now, a lot of people say, well, wait a second, Guy. Alibaba was a $305 stock in Halloween of 2020, traded down to $75. So a 50% rally, we're still in a trend lower. That's true, but it's 50% nonetheless over a small period of time. I will tell you, again, I started by saying this, I'll say it again. The market has a way of humbling us, and I think that's where in the midst of. But the Fed has absolutely changed course. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, has effectively said that, listen, we are behind the curve. Now I'm paraphrasing a bit. We are going to raise rates regardless of what's happening out there. And the market, for whatever reason right now, is looking past that.
Typically, when they raise rates, correct me if I'm wrong, things go the opposite direction in the equity market, right?
Well, I mean, if they were raising rates because the economy was going gangbusters, that's one thing. Then I can reconcile in my head a market that continues to rally because you have an economy that's screaming higher. But they're raising rates because they're behind the curve in inflation. And look, people watching this right now, Coach, you can speak to this. Ned, I know you can as well. Inflation is running rampant. Now, people will look at it just through the lens of gasoline. I get it because that's in your face every day, but it's more than that. It's everything else. And at a certain point, higher inflation, it just takes away your spending power. So the consumer, which is 73% of our economy, if they can't spend or if they can't spend as much because basically they're giving it away vis-a-vis inflationary things, that's going to have an impact on the economy. Not today, but over the next couple months.
Guy, the one thing was, let me clarify one thing. I was saying that rates go up, the equities go down. I was thinking kind of a short-term time frame. Mm-hmm. But when I look at some of some of my portfolio, for example, OIH, I have puts on Apple. There was a while, April 1st, $160 puts on Apple, for example. But when you start looking at that now, Apple's almost has a higher high. So is it a matter of you just have to wait and see if it's going to be confirmed, or do you just
look? I mean,
it's such a
April
big move.
puts. I mean, you got it. What do you have? A week and a half. I mean, obviously they probably dwindled down. I still think Apple. Again, my opinion, not that it matters, but I still think Apple is destined to trade down to 138, and I think when it gets there, that's when we'll see the capitulation in the broad market. Again, just my opinion. And look, there's still a lot of things that can happen. China, Taiwan is still out there, no question about it. The saber rattling we've seen from them. This Russia-Ukraine situation has not resolved itself. It might have resolved itself in terms of the news coverage, but nothing's gotten better on that front. Earnings growth, by definition, in a rising rate environment is going to take a hit, and the market is still expensive. So we've had 5 tremendous days for the broader market. I don't think we're out of the woods. I will tell you, and we talked about this, you mentioned OIH. I think we did a really good job for you. I mean, we were talking about at 175, 180. We thought 285 was an objective. Got north of 300. We said you saw a blow off top in crude. OIH will probably trade back to prior resistance. Resistance becomes support in the form of 245, 250. It got really close. I think it actually got down to 256 or so, and here we are back on the horse. So, look, we're trying to sort of hold people's hands with this. It's not an exact science. None of this is. And again, the market has a way of humbling and humiliating. We're in the midst of that now. I will say this. I think there's another chapter left in the crude story. I think there's another leg higher in OIH.
To also offer a little context on, and by the way, if you want to buy some puts from me for Apple 160 on April 1st, Coach, I'm selling. But I think I bought them at like $2 or $3. They went to 11. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Think about
11.
that. Now, hold on a second. Now, I want to stop you for a second. And Coach, I want you to think about this as well. So you bought them for $2. Let's just round numbers, right?
Yeah.
And if I had said to you at the time when you bought them, I said, Ned, you just bought these puts for $2. If I had said in a week and a half from now, which is probably about the time it went to 11, maybe a little bit longer, I'd said to you, these are going to quadruple. They're going to go to 8. And you would have said, sign me up. Is that true?
100% that's true.
Not only did they go to 8, they went to 11. So in your mind, you have to say to yourself, like, you should have had an exit strategy in place when you bought those puts. And I'm not criticizing you because we all make these mistakes, but it's like when you're on a roll in gambling. At a certain point, you know it's going to end, and you got to be, the discipline has to be, holy shit, I just quadrupled my money. I'm out. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Pardon me again. What happens going from here?
It's the hardest thing to do. It is absolutely the hardest thing to do, whether you're talking gambling or in finance, is to pull out when you're still moving ahead. It's 101.
See, but two things here. First, I had a sports psychologist once. She was awesome. She was a trained marksman. She was an undercover agent in the FBI. She now is the head sports psychologist for the Nashville Predators, the hockey team. Guy, you know them.
I do.
And she told me one of the worst words in the entire English language is should.
Yeah.
Because it comes a lot with guilt. And when you say it to somebody else, you're kind of puffing your chest out. And
no,
you're putting
I'm not.
them down
I
at
don't
the
mean
same
to be
time.
doing that.
The other part is, I'm busting your balls here, Guy. But the other part of it is you didn't even ask me. Did you exit any of your puts? You didn't even ask me. You just assumed.
The way you said it made me believe that you wrote it up and down, Coach.
I did.
Ned, he's right about that too. He's right about that because you're like, if you want to buy some, you can on April 1st.
Well, you still can. I didn't. When it got to 11, I said, you know what? If Guy Adami were on my shoulder right here, and Coach were over here, Coach would be saying, let it ride, just keep riding it. But Guy Adami said, you should have an exit strategy. So I sold some of the puts. I took the profit and I bought later puts at a more aggressive. So even if it goes bad, I'm going to.
You know what? But at least you had that discipline, and at least you had a strategy. So I will rescind my remarks of a few minutes ago and say, Coach is saying don't rescind.
See, I actually
can't
listen
spell that
when
either,
Guy Adami talks. I listen when Guy and Danny and Dan talk when it comes to the markets. I listen to you, Coach, when it comes to gambling. But you always say, don't at me, Guy. Don't should me, okay? Just don't should me.
I'll never should you again. I'm just looking at our chat here.
That might be a new segment that we need to bring into the show. Don't should me.
Don't should me. By the way, Guy was looking at his chat. Next thing,
it has some legs. Don't should me. You
don't should me.
I like it. I'm just looking at the screen. I'm seeing if people are yelling at me in our chat.
We have a question.
Thank goodness they're not.
They're not yet.
What are the odds of an emergency rate hike tomorrow at 8:15 a.m.?
Well, it's interesting you say that because Jerome Powell has telegraphed a lot of these things. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's a great question. I just don't see it happening because the market will not see it coming, although a lot of this has been telegraphed. What I'll tell you is I do think they should do a mid-meeting. In other words, between meetings, I think they should have a rate hike because what I'll tell you to answer that question, if you look at where real inflation is in this country, it's not the 7.9% that was just reported a couple weeks ago. It's probably closer to 15%, which makes the Federal Reserve literally about 3.5 or 4 years behind the curve. So they got to get moving. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, but it should happen soon.
Coach, just you're such an observant guy. What does it feel like to you right now? This is sentiment, right? What does it feel like to you the economy is doing? Is it in a good place, a bad place? Does it feel volatile? Which way is it going to go? Is it kind of, where do you sense it?
It's funny that you asked me that because as I was listening to Guy talk, I always take my mind to what normal people do. Because at the end of the day, everybody can be a part of something and not understand it, but we all do normal things. Am I right? So the other day I was at the store. I went to buy a 5-hour energy. Normally they're like $3.29. They were like $4.89. So just something simple like that, when you talk about $1.50 on one thing, and then you multiply that out, all of a sudden it becomes a lot of money. So I would say it's in a bad place based off the normal things that I do on a daily basis. Everything has gone up. And yes, I live in the state of California, which, they charge 10 cents for a bag at the grocery store. Every bag, 10 cents. They literally have things in place to gouge you. You can buy an appointment at the CV or at the where you get your driver's license. You can buy an appointment when somebody cancels it for $39.99 to move up your appointment to get it. That's the kind of crazy stuff that happens out here just to make extra money to put it in. So I would say, no, it's not in a very good place because they're trying to gouge you at every turn, not trying to help you get back to where a lot of us were pre-pandemic. But I don't know if that's accurate. That's just how I feel.
Well, that's what I was asking. So that's accurate. Perception is reality. Guy, over the next week, I'm asking you to look into your crystal ball a little bit.
Hold on. Let me see if I can. Up there it is. Okay.
Well, you know what? Not your crystal ball, maybe your crystal glass. with a couple cubes of
cognac
ice.
He's got cognac in it over there.
He probably takes it neat too, right? Like put it in the microwave for a second if you don't mind. So as you have a little brandy over there, look into your brandy glass, and over the next week, does the market Nasdaq's by? What does it do? I know it's an impossible question.
No, it's not. I mean, listen, you asked a question, I'm going to answer it. I'm not going to equivocate. Another great word that I don't know how to spell. I think the market, both the Nasdaq and the S&P, can be 3 to 5% lower this time next week. So what's today? It's like Tuesday. I lose track of time.
No, I lose
Today's
track.
Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I think we could be 3 to 5% lower from current levels. And if I'm wrong, I say it all the time. I mean, when I'm wrong, I put it out there. But you got to make a call. 3 to 5% lower this time next week.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you making the call. I've got a text real quick from Chris Saxon, who is saying the best bet UCLA to cover, and then he said, "Boo."
Is that Brad Saxon's brother? Isn't that a Brad Saxon golfer or something? Am I wrong?
I guarantee whoever that is in their Twitter profile, it says "Die Hard Tar Heel fan." That's the way they always are. It's never somebody that actually knows anything. It's like, that was a terrible pick. Why are you picking that? Oh, I went to North Carolina. My great-grandfather, his grandfather all went to North Carolina. That's
Guy Adami, do you want to know how good Coach is at what he does? And I said he was observant. This is my cousin who went to the University of North Carolina, whose uncle went to the University of North Carolina, whose cousin went to the University of North Carolina, whose grandfather went to the University of North Carolina.
And I rest my case.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, I don't know, Guy, if you're prepared for this, but I'm going to put you on the spot just because I want to hear it again.
That's what I do, man. Go ahead.
It is time for the final segment of the show. Roll it.
When I was growing up, George Steinbrenner bought the New York Yankees. I think it was like $4 million or less. And he didn't even have to put up that much money himself. He put up a couple $100,000 to own what was a storied franchise, fell on difficult times, mid-'60s to the mid-'70s. Now, why do I mention that? Because the Yankees went on to outspend every other team in Major League Baseball for the next 40 years. And all of a sudden in 2022, the Minnesota Twins frickin' Twins are spending money like gangbusters, and the Yankees are getting guys off the what's the heap? I won't even say it, but you know what I'm talking about. They're bargain basement shopping. What has happened? What universe do I find myself in where about 4 or 5 teams are spending more money than my New York Yankees? Now, look, that might work for them. I don't know. Let's play the season out. But something really weird is going on in the year 2022, Coach and Ned.
Yeah, the Yankees realized that over the years, they've had one world championship since they started this stupid, let's just throw all the money in the world at the wall. And they're finally realizing maybe that's not the right strategy. Maybe it's not. Although Carlos Correa would look pretty good in a New York Yankees uniform. I think everybody would.
So would have Freddie Freeman.
Yes.
He's on the opposite coast.
Can I tell you how much I love
there
Hey
you go.
Guy?
So there you go.
I love Hey You Guy. I love Hey You Guy.
I wasn't even prepared for that. I didn't even know it was coming, but I brought the goods because that's what I do.
You brought the heat, baby. All the smoke. All the smoke.
Go enjoy your cognac in those leather chairs. Oh, that's it for March 22nd on Breaking Even. We'll see you next week. Remember to go to our individual pages on Twitter and like us, and then help us spread the word. Go to the YouTube page for Risk Reversal. Subscribe to it. Not only can you watch and hear Breaking Even, you get on the tape. The market calls are great, by the way. I watch them every single day, Guy. Thank you, and Dan, for doing those. And I bet Carter Braxton Worth, he's sitting next to you in that chair when this camera goes off. Carter Braxton Worth will have his cognac.
Carter, bring over my cognac when you're done.
And Coach, you're everywhere, Sportsline, but give us, especially in the NCAA tournament, where can we follow you?
Yeah, follow us at Sportsline. We have a huge YouTube channel that just grows leaps and bounds by the day. But here's the thing. On Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have a brand new preview of the 4 games in the Sweet 16 on Thursday night right before they start. You don't want to miss that. We'll have all the best bets, the leans, the totals, everything with 3 of the top cappers in the world, 6 p.m. Eastern at Sportsline. That's our YouTube channel. Everything is there, just like risk reversal. Everything is right there. We can't make it any easier for you.
Gentlemen, until next week, good luck in all of what we discussed. And let me know if you want to buy those puts, Coach.
Don't leave your phone on.
We're out of here.